Well, hello, EK Nation. Welcome to a new edition of This Week in Karting. It is episode 99, June 4th, 2026. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. And as you know, This Week in Karting brings all the major news that made its way to the EKN homepage here to podcast format. Perfect for listening on the way to work, coming home, working in the shop, whatever it may be. Today's show presented by AIM Sports. From its early days, AIM Sports has tailored its innovations to provide precise insights, allowing racers to fine-tune their strategies and push their limits. Fast forward to today, and they are excited to celebrate over 30 years of Micron by introducing the latest evolution in karting data loggers, the Micron 6. Designed with cutting-edge features, including 25 Hz GPS with mil-spec precision, a 6-axis inertial platform, shift lights and alarms, temperature inputs, and many more features. It's perfect for karting enthusiasts looking to enhance their game on the track. Join the AIM Sports community today and equip yourself with the Micron 6 to take your karting experience to the next level. Visit aimsports.com to learn more. AIM Sports, 30 years of Micron. All right, David Cole, jump back into this one here. Episode number 98 was only a week ago, so not a bad backup here. Lots going on. Indeed, more information, more news, more opportunity for us to fill up a show here on This Week in Karting. But yeah, lots going on. We're talking new series. We lost a member of our karting family recently as well. We've got statements from racing teams. There's a lot going on here in the last week and a half.
Yeah, I wanted to get another show in before we do get trackside because it's been a few weeks since we've been able to do that. So we'll have a bunch of debriefs, outlaps, et cetera, and more coming down the line. So best to get another This Week in Karting in before we do get busy with our travel schedule and race coverage in terms of podcasts.
Yeah, a little break in the action, right, from the last race we had. Dave's been home for a little bit, myself as well. I've been doing some USF Pro Championships races, but as David mentioned, coming right around the corner, the SuperKarts USA Spring Nationals down at Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. And with that, our trackside coverage, kicking things off with an outlap preview podcast before we get trackside. Speaking of being trackside, David, and events rolling, a new series getting announced up in the Pacific Northwest.
New event.
New event, pardon me, event. FTK Promotions, Andy Saisman. Let's talk about the Cascadia Karting Cup.
Yeah, it's a kind of just a one-off event that Andy Saisman and FTK Promotions is putting together. It's he's up in that region now. He's moved up there into Idaho, and so he's been around that region for the last couple of years, and he loves the Pat Akers Racing Complex. We've known that. We had the California Karting Championship event there back in 2022, I think it was, when
fun weekend.
I got in the back of a camper with you, so that was quite fun.
That's fun.
But yeah, he loves that place. He wants to, that was one, Rob, back in the day, that was one of the facilities that was like the mainstay for that region, correct?
Yeah, it was 100%.
So
legendary racetrack.
So yeah, so that's kind of a dead spot in the schedule. Speaking with Andy, in terms for that region, so he's thought about the challenge in Americas hasn't only got the one event in for 2026 before it was canceled for the rest of the year due to a busy schedule. He's a promoter. He wants to put on races. He wants to provide good racing, and with the way the schedule works out for that region, this works. It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, that first weekend of October. The event will be presented by Shinko Racing Kart Tires. Again, Pat's Acres Racing Complex, folks, if you've never been there before, it is an iconic facility up in Canby, Oregon. Absolutely beautiful. There's really no other track that I know of like it. Just the layout of the track. You're right in the middle of the forest, essentially, right alongside a river. As David mentioned, we were there before for a race recently that Andy actually promoted, and that was a really fun weekend. I've been going there since the late 90s when SuperKarts USA and their Promoto Tour was up there. But IKF, Region 6 been there. IKF Grand Nationals have been at that racetrack many times. So, Dave, I think you said it. Andy Saisman is a karting promoter, right? And he wants to be involved in it. And an opportunity arose, and away we go with the Cascadia Karting Cup.
And one thing that he does have is he has support from teams, competitors, and industry members from the region. I think that's the kind of the biggest
Agreed.
uh, bump in putting this on is he's got people telling him do it. Let's put a race on. Let's have some fun. Let's let's do something different from the norm kind of situation. So yeah, the release had a bunch of team members, Nelliton, Cameron Ager, who's Tyler Kaufman, a new operation out of Idaho, and then awesome. Scott Cowell from PGP Motorsports as well. So again, a lot of people are obviously Chris Ager from Pat's Acres as well too. So yeah, again, it's just it's a region that we know has a lot of great racers, a lot of new racers that are coming up through the ranks. So again, it's just an opportunity for Andy to kind of introduce his way of putting on races and more. So,
yeah, I think when you lean into like you said, you've got Cameron Egger from Sigler Race Development, you got Aaron Nelliton Race Complex Concepts, who's not only kind of built his programming for the Pacific Northwest, but also up and down the West Coast as well. You talked about Tyler Coffin's program, TCR Driver Development. You got Scott Cowell from PGP. When you put events like this on, David, when you have support from the industry, like you said, motivating you to say, hey, listen, we'd love to do this, put a race on. We're going to rally behind it. We're going to make it happen, because I don't care what region you're in or what track you're at. Big races help develop the program. It's good for the sport. So I love seeing Andy back at it again, bringing his crew back for an event. I just think anytime you can have a race in a region that can bring out the industry and bring out all the racers, it's going to be big for the sport.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. More details are going to be announced, obviously, with it being presented by Shinko Racing Kart Tires, that it will be probably the Shinko tires that'll be utilized. So you got to assume 100cc categories are going to be there, along with probably Briggs as well too. And so we'll just kind of wait and see what more comes from FTK Promotions.
So some good news from FTK Promotions. Then we got some sad news as well this week as well, David. The passing of Mike Burris, born in 1941, passed away just this past week. Mike, 84 years of age. And listen, if you've been in the sport for any amount of time, I don't care if it's on the sprint karting side, road racing, or dirt or asphalt oval racing, speedway racing, the Burris name is massive in the sport. Obviously for the products, how many races have you seen in events that have been, their sponsorship from Burris Racing? You put together a fantastic obit on Mike's life and what he's done. Burris Racing starting in 1976, but he was one of a kind as well. I think when you step away from just what he's done in the sport, he and his family and his boys, everything they've done, his father, obviously with Burco Manufacturing first, just Mike, who he was an almost larger than life figure. He just, he lived by his own rules, kind of a thing. And like I always said, he was the powerhouse when he walked into any room. So for me to hear that news, Mike and I were friends, and I'm glad of that through my years in karting. I remember meeting him at kart shows, kart fests, WK Kart Fest shows, the KMI Kart Expo in Chicago. It's a sad day to see us losing Mike. He was just such a powerhouse.
Yeah, the Burris name, that's something I saw as a kid in a lot of magazines, advertising, all the different products they had. Obviously, the Burris tire has been a forefront in terms of asphalts or speedway and dirt and asphalt racing over the last essentially 3 decades. It was a predominant. When you talk old school and vintage, you talk, the Burco clutch, like that was a one name that always stood out to me. Or maybe it was the magazine advertisements, but I want to say my dad always used to talk about, having a Burco clutch, and it was the thing to have back then. And so lots of memories for that for me. I got to meet Mike, as you said, KMI Kart Expo a few times there. So that was when I got to know the Burris family and especially as you said, the personality that Mike Burris was. Yes, and that's what Mark Dismore said, Randy Kugler, Keith Freeber, and others that we spoke to regarding Mike. Like that's what stood out about Mike was his personality. It was it was definitely larger than life personality. I got to see it firsthand. So I can definitely say, and again, this was, probably in his 60s that he was. So quite a character. But yeah, just overall a great person and human being.
Yeah, just a massive supporter for American karting and the American manufacturing side as well, right? Anytime he could be, there could be a way to approach the sport and engine building for American engine builders. They always pushing to have it open where you could be able to do your own work as opposed to relying on maybe just European supplied products. It was very pro-American, made in the USA. And again, we send our condolences out to the Burris family. Fantastic man. And again, a legend in our sport for sure. Mike Burris passed away at 84 years of age. On to our first commercial break, folks. When we come back, we've got a statement from Velocity Racing and a move of the T4 Eastern Cup. We'll talk about that when we come back after this break. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. In 2025, Trinity Karting Group established TKG Birol Art USA in cooperation with North American distributor PSL Karting. The Trinity Karting Group carries the colors of the Birol Art brand, as TKG Birol Art USA helps to bridge the connection between current and future dealers here in the USA. TKG has in stock IAMI, Briggs & Stratton, MG, Evinco tires, and more products for those in the Ohio and Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport with a winning pedigree, and we are dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. History, success, family. Those are the three words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAMI X30, IAMI Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Welcome back to episode 99 of This Week in Karting, June the 4th. Rob Howden alongside David Cole as we present to you in podcast form all the stuff that news that made its way to the EKN homepage over the last week and a bit. David, let's jump into this statement from Velocity Racing. We are working a lot more closely with Velocity Racing, learning a lot about the team. But they came out with, on their Instagram page, a video with Chris Knefik kind of giving an overview of Velocity and what they've done over the last year and a half and how they're approaching their business moving forward.
Kind of a organizational or team update regarding the structure and where they're going and moving forward. One of the things we saw over the weekend was the move for Colin Lloyd, their KA senior driver, moving to Nash Motorsports for the recent Stars Championship Series event. So that kind of sparked some discussion, online banter, questions. I'm sure there was stuff being said and done in the paddock as well too at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So I got to assume that they decided to kind of nip it in the bud type thing and kind of come out with a statement that Chris did put out. They put out on Instagram and kind of a look at. They say they're kind of restructuring the way the organization, their race team, and the whole company is going to be now moving forward. Obviously, one of them is probably the release of certain drivers that they were sponsoring that were under the race tent. So that's one of the key components. They also said that moving forward, they're looking to go back to more club and regional racing as well to kind of support the grassroots programs that and their dealers as well too. That's obviously with Velocity Racing taking over as the Sodi Kart distributor here in the USA. It's a big part of that. Supporting dealers. That's one thing that we saw with the karting. What was Thierry's company name? I can't remember.
The Karting Distribution.
Karting Distribution. That's what it was. Yes. So the Velocity Racing has taken over that side of it. We're actually trying to work on a company overview. We haven't really started, but this is a great time to do it. And obviously, when we see them, I believe we'll see them at the Pro Tour race next weekend. With obviously the Morgado victory coming off the Winter Nationals, I got to assume we'll see them there. We just spoke with Adrian Renaudin of Sodi Kart and a Velocity Racing driver in my hot seat. He will be there next weekend. So not his favorite racetrack, which was one of the key components in my interview that I got out of him. So that was quite interesting. So we're going to work on getting more details. Obviously, we were looking for an official statement, didn't get that yet, but still we'll be working to kind of get an idea. And again, an overview. It's a new program. Again, even last year when they were racing, there was a lot of moving components, a lot of drivers going in and coming out. They even had Zachary Clayman DeMello at one point. They brought Caden McQueen in. So McQueen, I believe, is still there as well too. So so I think next weekend we'll kind of get more of a hands-on and a more general overview of what they're going to do moving forward.
In watching Chris's video on the Velocity Racing Instagram page, it's pretty much saying, hey, listen, this is what we've done. We had a bunch of drivers that we sponsored as they were trying to kind of get data, build up their database on the chassis itself, their understanding of the chassis. Had a number of drivers, of course, as you said, come in from Sodi Kart Factory to work with the team as well. But again, just getting out of the gate, having taken over the distribution program, developing their own engine program as well, right? So they work on their engine program where they wanted it to get to. Now they've got this database of information on the chassis, thanks to the drivers that they had sponsored and the factory drivers that have come in. David, you mentioned they're focusing back on club and regional programs, so kind of focusing around the home base. But Chris also talks about wanting to really, double down on their driver development programs. They're having a camp. They're hosting a Velocity Racing camp at Orlando Kart Center on June the 17th and the 19th. I think that's going to be a big part of what they do, really focusing on driver development for the young racers in club and regional programs that are going to run that Sodi package. But again, one of the things he mentioned is they've doubled the size of the Sodi Kart dealer network in the year and a half that they've been with the program. So anytime you're a distributor, you want to have that race team as well. You want to be able to be, part of the racing action track side. But the primary goal is to make sure that you have dealers and you're the distribution network and you want Sodi Kart machinery being available at kart tracks all around the country. So that's their focus. They're going to keep going forward, and we're excited to be working with them. And again, the Sodi Racing program, it's been around a long time. When I first got into the sport back in the 1990s, I remember racing against a lot of Sodi Kart machinery. They were blue and white back in the day, and it's good to see. It's good to see a brand, David, that's got a passionate group of people and a well-organized and well-structured company that's going to allow it to grow and expand that dealer network over the years.
Yeah, and that's one thing I talked with Adrian about. He raced with Sodi Kart in his early years, and then before moving over to Tony Kart, and then actually drove for DR Kart as well too before moving back with Sodi, and now under his new position with Sodi Kart. It's again for Sodi Kart themselves, for a business, it's about selling carts, it's about selling product. And again, the race team, as he was kind of saying, that helps support the sales. It helps support the development of the product. It helps support the sales of the product in itself. So yes, Velocity Racing's kind of trying to do both now. They're no longer just a race team, because when they did start, they were just the race team, and that was their primary focus. That's a good analogy in terms of that. They're now trying to do both. They're trying to be a business, but also be a race team as well. So you kind of have to cut corners here and there when you're trying to move in certain directions. And I think that's what they're doing. And again, they had a lot of drivers, like you said, Rob, underneath that tent.
They did.
And again, providing data, that engine program, I think, is a big program that they certainly want to develop even more moving down the line, because that's something they've put a lot of emphasis in over the last year and a half.
Dave, let's go to the competition side, and we'll go East Coast and West Coast, because we're talking about a couple specific events that have had some updates. Let's start with the T4 Eastern Cup. I mentioned that before the break. The T4 Eastern Cup program is actually moving its series finale to T4 Kartplex. A lot going on in Florida right now, David. A lot surrounding the Orlando Kart Center and the potential for a new owner coming here in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll learn about that. But let's talk about that T4 Cup, which was set for the Orlando Kart Center making a move.
Yeah, that's the situation. Orlando Kart Center is currently basically for sale. Andre Martins has put out a couple weeks ago that they're looking to get buyers. They've got a couple of deals in place. And so with the uncertainty of that place closing down at the end of June, their event on July 4th that was scheduled at Orlando Kart Center, T4 Eastern Cup, decided to move that entire event to the T4 Kartplex in Palmetto, Florida. So
not a bad
little
idea.
bit of a transition. I mean, let's be honest, that was probably the right call. Because again, the racetrack could sell right now, but it's got to go through all of the processes of selling, the transition, transition and everything like that. So a lot to get done with, and so a good move for the T4 program to move this over. They've already hosted the first round, which was in April 18th at the Music City Kartplex in Tennessee. Coming up on June 21st at the Lorain, Ohio Kartplex will be the second event. And then, as we said, July 4th will be the T4 Kartplex event finale.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's move to the West Coast now. Rock Fest West at Sonoma Raceway on July 10th, 11th, and 12th. David, they're adding a class, one that we've seen in NorCal racing for a number of decades.
Yeah, Rock Cup USA is adding a NorCal 80cc shifter category to the event. Yes, as you said, 80cc shifter racing has been very popular in Northern California, dating back to all the way into the 90s, Rob.
Yep.
A lot of drivers that you can think of from back in the day, some in the NASCAR, some
AJ
in other
Allmendinger,
forms.
Scott Speed.
Yeah. Some in all different forms. There's been a lot of names that have come up through the ranks in the 80cc shifter division, and it's still at the club levels there in Northern California. So Mike Burrell of Rock Cup USA, he's always looking to make things welcoming in terms of the sport, and with this new Rock Fest West event that's happening on July 10th through the 12th at Sonoma Raceway. What better way to welcome local racers than to have a local option class and bang some gears? So so they've already had 10 drivers committed to enter. So thus they added the category to the event. And so we'll get to other than the 125 stuff that they'll have there, we'll get to see some 80cc shifter racing as well too.
Yeah, big fan of the 80cc class. Again, good to see them being added to the Rock Fest West event at Sonoma. Another break. When we come back, we'll give David an opportunity to kind of give us a little insight into all the editorial he's produced on EKN over the last week. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 chassis with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and the Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the rookie, junior, senior, heavy, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the season include the Ignite Majors that begin with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week, running in both the sprint and road racing events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, featuring 5 iconic facilities. Local club programs have also been established in states all across the country, Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program. Be part of fast, fun, and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in the world of karting with a never-ending focus on winning. Kart CRG USA is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, Kart CRG USA supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 has been designed specifically for the US market. The KT5 is the perfect fit for X30, KA100, and other tag platforms, featuring the new Aero package and VEN 11B braking system. For cadet drivers, the CRG Black Beer continues to log in victories and championships across the globe, and is utilized in both 2-cycle and 4-cycle competition here in North America. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, continues its excellence for those in the shifter kart ranks. The CRG FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition, with numerous podium results across classes at the CKNA divisional and national events. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. Kart CRG USA has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to kartcrgusa.com, or to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at sales@kartcrg.com. Welcome back to episode 99 of This Week in Karting. Rob Howden here with David Cole. And David, just give us some insight here. I know a lot of stuff came out over the last week and a half since our last edition of This Week in Karting. Give us an update on some of the editorial that you produced for the website.
Yeah, we did a Fast 5 with Jeff Scott of the Quincy Grand Prix. That'll be coming up here at the end of June, which will be June 27th through 28th in Quincy, Illinois, the Bucket List Street Race event. So got some insight from Scott regarding this year's event. Not much has changed from years past. There a lot of the categories are 4-cycle based. They do have shifter and 2-cycle categories, as well as moto bikes, big wheel races on Friday night.
Yeah.
Lots of activities for the thousands and thousands of spectators they do have that come in through the Quincy, Illinois region to check out the racing and the happenings at South Park. So quite an interesting event. Almost 200 entries looking at the registration right now. So a little bit more work to do in the next couple of weeks, but I'm sure they'll get a lot more racers to sign up.
Let's talk about CKNA as well. And as you know, folks, we've got a new partnership with them. We're going to be coming out with these kind of monthly schedule updates. They're back at it again, kind of right into the meat of the action now, David. Obviously, a couple of races here and there in Q1. A lot of races for the finale, finishing up the CKNA South Series. But yeah, a good update to let everybody know where CKNA is going to be racing here over the month of June.
Yeah, they'll have the CKNA East opener this weekend. The North returns the following weekend, and then at the end of the month, I believe CKNA Canada will be hosting its first division weekend after having a successful Canadian four-cycle nationals during the month of May. So yes, a busy month scheduled for Cup Karts North America.
Yeah, no doubt. CKNA East, as David mentioned, opening up Quaker City June 6th and 7th. CKNA North up to Briggs and Stratton Motorplex at Road America June 13th and 14th, and CKNA Canada at Brecken Motorsports Park, coming off that massive Canadian four-cycle nationals just a couple of weeks ago in Quebec. David, a couple of race reports as well. Not only are we talking about previews, but there's some racing going on both in the East and in the West.
Yeah, I got the race report from the Pro Kart Challenge that traveled to Sonoma for round 3. A good turnout there in Northern California. That's the first of 2 races that'll be at Sonoma. The second one will be coming up in August, as the Pro Kart Challenge does take a break through the months of June and July with the busy Pro Tour schedule that is coming up. And then Cup Karts North America South Division wrapped up its 2026 season at the Bushnell Motorsports Park. That was just this past weekend. So we do have that race report online discussing the final 2 rounds of that program.
So yeah, there, if you haven't got a chance to read that editorial, the Fast 5 with Jeff Scott, the CKNA June schedule update, and both of those race reports, head to the website and have a quick look at those now. When we get back, David and I are going to jump into our little discussion segment here in This Week in Karting. What's hot? The topic we're talking about is multiple small championship programs or longer. Which do you prefer? So I'm looking forward to that one as well. I'm not even sure which way Dave's going to tell me. It'll be interesting. Well, to a certain extent, I will, because he's definitely had some opinions on that over the years. When we get back, it's time for our discussion on some latest topics in the sport of karting. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is SodiKart. And in the U.S., Velocity Racing is their distributor and official race team. The SodiKart brand is among the top chassis around the globe and here in North America. And the recent successes include the FIA Karting World Championships in KZ last year, and in multiple championships and at different levels here in the USA. The French manufacturer is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers products in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Velocity Racing also works with its expanded dealer network, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. Visit velocityracing.com to learn more about the SodiKart chassis and the racing program, or call 407-270-3042 to become part of the Velocity Racing network today. Velocity Racing and SodiKart, leaders in the karting industry. Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is, they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis, With 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP EasyGP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA. Back at it this week in karting, episode number 99. What's hot's up next? David, you're the one that throws these questions out for me, and I get them once I see the script. So the question is, which do you prefer? Multiple small championship programs or longer, or stretched out schedules? You can kind of lead into it, but you have always talked about less is more when it comes to series. And I think when you look at the 17 years now, the SCUSA Pro Tour, which was at one point the Spring Nats and the Summer Nats, and then the Super Nationals, and is now just a 3 event program with the whole Pro Tour. They've made a pretty good case that a small focus championship does pretty well for them.
Well, Rob, actually, to be honest, my viewpoint or my thought into this discussion is, if you go back a decade ago, essentially, we had these programs that went all season long. You look at Stars of Karting, that went from March to October.
Yeah.
You look at the WK Manufacturers Cup Series, went from December of the year before up until September or something like that. Okay. So a stretched out champion, maybe 5-6 rounds. So my discussion with you is that something we should go back to in terms of national competition? So
as opposed to being done by July,
as opposed to what we have right now. Yeah. Right now, you look at Supercards USA. That's a prime example because they're kind of the echelon right now of what we have going on here in the United States. They have a winter program, they have the Pro Tour, and then they have a big, massive one-off event, right? Rotax doing kind of the same thing as well too. So why not just combine all of these events and these programs into one massive championship for the season? Like, is that something you think we can have happen down the road, or is that something that's never going to come back again? Because
that's an interesting topic. You're right, because listen, the minute you go up into a car level, I don't care if it's USF Pro Championships or if you're going to go Mazda racing, whatever it is, they're not 3 race series. Now, maybe 3 race series are okay for a group like SCUSA and then Rotax and USBKS and Stars because the other ones are around. Our sport wouldn't go very long if, not the national level wouldn't have much significance. Let's put it that way. If SCUSA was the only player and there was only 3 races, you go back to 1999 and 2000s when the SCUSA Pro Moto Tour started. So you go to the early iterations of SCUSA, which, as you said, is probably the strongest program right now. And the series was 4 races plus the national final or the U.S. finals or world finals, whatever Jim Murley called it back then. Same with Stars. At one point, SCUSA had an East Coast championship and a West Coast championship, and they met together. I hear where you're coming from.
So what? Yeah. So what you're saying is because we have too many options, too many programs, too many series, that's not something that's feasible, because people in a say a 7 race championship, by the time they get to round 3, they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to go.
We see that, right? There have been series that have gone into September, but they've cut that September race off. They've went from 5 to 4 to 4 to 3 because there's just so many other series. Again, you always go back to your own personal experiences. And when I first started racing, before I had dove right into the journalists and publishing side with the magazines in the late 90s, I think with club and regional racing, I ran my club. My club had 15 or 12 or 15, whatever it was, club races. But I ran all 5 of the regional. For me, it was the OKRA Super Series, the Ontario Kart Racing Association Super Series. I wanted to run the OKRA, and I ran all 5 races. And I think the first one was in April, and the last one was in September, like you mentioned. So it's interesting. I personally like a longer championship. Maybe I'm just used to that because when you go into car racing, you're running 8-9 weekends events. So it's a longer championship, but people aren't running every weekend in USF 2000 or USF Juniors because they're at a different series. The amount of series we have, I think, changes things around. That's a really good topic.
Do you think that it stems from, because again, you just said it, club races, like, I still question the fact that clubs have, especially up here in the Northern Hemisphere, have 15 races
Too
in
many.
a season.
Agreed. Too many.
It just seems to me that takes away the opportunity for people to go out and do other things. It takes away the opportunity for drivers to try and experience other racetracks,
Yep.
or as you said, go do regional racing and try to improve a race. So it's almost like you have to choose one or the other. You can't. You don't very rarely see racers doing both club and regional racing. You do kind of see those drivers doing regional and national racing, because then the regional programs essentially warm you up or allow you to test for upcoming national events. But that's the one thing I notice is most of the regional racers are just that. They're regional racers. They'll occasionally dip down to a club race here and there, but they're not regular competitors at the club level. So you typically have your club people who stay at the club level, and it's very difficult for them to go up to a regional race or go out and try a regional race, because they have so many races at their club that they want to be part of, and they want to race for a championship there.
I think you're right. No, and I hate to see that, because I think the club and regional racing should be symbiotic. And I think that regional racing, there could be guys that don't run club racing that are regional racers, but they run regional and national, right? So you can become a regional racer. You can run all your region, plus you go up to some of the big national races, or you're a club guy that supports your club and then goes and challenges yourself against some of the other club, the top racers of each club when you go to regional racing. And again, I think the fact that we are so saturated with so much racing, so many races every weekend, that's where you have that issue where we're not seeing the series. Just simply cannot have 5, 6, 7 round series, that which would be very cool, but we can't do that because there's just so much racing. And so they have to kind of pare things down to, okay, I think we can command enough support and attention if we do 3 races like the SCUSA Pro Tour. 4, you start to lose a little bit on the 4th one, right? Nobody really is doing 5 anymore.
So what you're saying, Rob, is if we had this national organization that was the premier level of the sport, I don't know why I keep going back to this, but it seems that way. Like if we had that was the one thing that I was talking with Adrian Renaud in my Hot Seat podcast. I was talking about the differences between here in the US and France. He says there's a lot of racetracks in France, but it's all under one organization. So they all work together, and they're kind of dictated in terms of what engine packages are kind of on that national level, and this and that. And so that's what got, again, he comes over here and he's like, it's more of a show. And essentially, like he said, it's kind of a free for all in terms of so many different events and organizations and promoters and that. So it's very hard to judge what's premier and what's not when you come over here. So you kind of have to go where the numbers are and where the racers are. And that's what makes it quite unique when you come from other countries into the United States.
It's the Wild West for sure in the US. But again, just look at European karting. It's exactly the same thing. They have the WSK Supermaster Series, right? The European Championship is 3 weekends, and everything's just like this little 3 weekend thing that has kind of come for a lot of series. Because maybe I think it's the attention. You can have someone's attention for that many, and then they want to go do something different onto the next program. Or if it's a 5 race series and you have 1 bad race or 2 bad races, you may not continue on for the other series, right? We've seen that happen.
Well, let's be honest. The WSK, it's basically 18 races out of the season, and it's all the same drivers doing all 18 races.
But they're all small, like these little smaller series, right?
They're all smaller programs, and it's just that for that fact that they have the winter one because some of the you stay in one region of Europe because it's not quite warm yet in other areas of the continent. And so, it's just, that part is weird. At least with the FIA, you do have a more structured, you have the European Championship, you have the World Championships. So it is a little bit more structured there. But yes, in terms of kind of the whole entire European scene, you got Champions of the Future, you got Champions of the Future Academy program. You got, it seems to be branching out more and more in terms of the that international level side.
But the smaller programs, not 5, 6, 7 weekends, the 3 weekends, whatever it may be. But David, as you mentioned, and you're correct, all under essentially the one bubble, the one control, the one umbrella that makes sure that everybody's on the same page going forward, right? We do not have that. We do not have that over here.
Well, you look at it like obviously FIA is the FIA, right? And most of the other programs try to recognize what is done, because they're two different. You got the RGMMC, which puts on the Champions of the Future program. They're all in on FIA rules. WSK, they just instituted the anti-launch device in their program, because originally they didn't start with that for 2026, but now they're introducing it into their categories moving forward. So yeah, they're kind of their own little entity, but they do try to follow the FIA rules in terms and structures for that. So yeah, but again, it's all dictated by what the teams want over there, especially over there, the manufacturers want and what they want to do and what places they want to go. And also a tire game as well too. Over there, you have obviously Maxxis with the FIA. You have LeConte and Vega as well in their programs. So there is a little bit of a tire situation over there as well too.
There you have it. All right, let's go to a quick break. When we come back, let's wrap things up here in this edition of This Week in Karting. Don't go anywhere. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. New to the product lineup is the Stilo Carbon CMR karting helmet. Designed to revolutionize your karting experience, this carbon fiber crafted helmet is among the lightest on the market, without compromising on safety. The Stilo ST5 KRT karting helmet is manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material. The KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The Stilo ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision that is perfect for the youth helmet line. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva rib protector is unlike any other on the market, with a form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. The Carbon Curva 8870 version is FIA homologated and includes a chest protector. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these products and many more to keep you safe on the track. Stilo, any competition, one helmet. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the United States, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. 8 brands under the OTK USA banner are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, the United States Pro Kart Series, and even more programs throughout the country. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, EOS, and Red Speed have been joined by the Gallard, LN Racing Kart, and CS55 brands. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, visit otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. OTK, the gold standard of karting. Welcome back, folks. Final segment of This Week in Karting, episode number 99, June 4th, as we work our way into the essentially the heart of the racing season for 2026. As you know, folks, our EKN podcast all available on the EKN radio network through the iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, uploading to YouTube now as well. All the major podcast outlets, feel free. David, new shows coming. We've got a couple of shows that we got one going that we're working on, but you got a couple of hot seats. You've been on a roll with a couple of hot seats, a couple of international drivers.
Yeah, I was able to speak with Gus Lawrence, as we talked about in our last show. And then, as I've said throughout this show, a new one with Velocity Racing and Sodi Kart driver Adrian Renaudin. Good conversations with both. So make sure you check that out. Our new On Track with CKNA debuted a couple weeks ago. We'll have a new one hopefully coming up here next week. And again, just anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, even on YouTube as well. Make sure you download or subscribe to ECAN Radio Network.
So I'm a little worried about David in this next couple of weeks. He hasn't been to an airport in a while. So David, are you gonna remember how to travel to races? It's been a while.
Let's see. I want to bring big water jugs full of water and lots of shampoo in my carry-on, right?
Yeah. And that's not small bottles, big bottles. David.
Of course. The gallon bottles, yes.
Here's what's coming up on eKarting News, folks. We are going to be getting back trackside soon. We won't be trackside this weekend, but watch for coverage from the RMC America's Trophy event at Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, MCC, going back-to-back with both RMC and Superkarts USA, June 5th, 6th, and 7th, David, in Batavia, Ohio. RMC America's Trophy, the finale, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the finale, the final two rounds for the road tax categories, final round for the FZ shifter categories that are racing there as well too. So road tax and shifter racing this weekend with the FC platform. And then next weekend will be our return to the racetrack, to the karting track. It's been a long overdue for me with the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals returning for, I believe, is the third straight year at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati in Batavia, Ohio.
Somehow, I have never been there before. So, David, you're going to have to kind of walk me through this place. I don't know how the way the schedules came up with my USF Pro stuff, always conflicts. I've never been to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, so looking forward to seeing the bailiffs there. Looking forward to get back to the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. My schedule does allow me to commentate all three of the races this year alongside Xander Clemens and Kart Chaser, so looking forward to that. But yeah, first time to MCC, June 12th to the 14th. I'm excited, man. We'll get down there on Thursday and looking forward to some good racing.
Well, it's funny, Rob, because we're doing driver rankings here today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
And also during Memorial Week, I was trying to remember what was I doing last year during the Indy 500? Because this year I drove up to Friend's Cottage, and so I was watching it on my iPad before we got there. Last year I was trackside. I totally forgot. I was the Spring Nationals for the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. So that's a reason why you were not there, because you were in Indianapolis for the USF programs going on there. I tried to convince you to drive over on Saturday and Sunday, but you denied me on that.
No, so that would have 500.
That would have been your first one, but so yeah, this will be your first trip there. Pretty easy facility to navigate, not hard. You're going to be amazed. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what your initial thoughts are when you walk in, and what it compares to, and how the atmosphere is surrounding that racetrack.
Yeah, looking forward to it for sure. Well, there you have it, folks. Another edition of This Week in Karting. We've kind of teased the fact that there's a lot coming next week. As you know, we're going to the Spring Nationals, so you're going to get the preview Outlap podcast when we get home from Cincinnati. It'll be the debrief to wrap up the trackside coverage that we'll have throughout the entire weekend. But on track with CKNA, David's working to put together another show, as we'll work to talk to some people in the CKNA Cup Karts North America program. As again, June's going to be a very busy month from them, all focused on continuing to work your way through to see who comes away with those divisional championships. Otherwise, that wraps things up for this edition of This Week in Karting. Big thank you again to AIM Sports for being our presenting sponsor. And thank you to all of the companies that support ekartingnews.com. Without you guys, we could not do what we do. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I do appreciate it. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.